Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jnanavarthini FDPPI's weekly knowledge session. Before we start, let me remind you all that FDPPI, in association with Manipal Law School, is organizing a roundtable on the impact of the new data privacy law on the fintech industry on August 22nd. This is a physical event held at the Manipal Academy campus in Elhanga, Bangalore. Request your support to connect with leaders in fintech industry, and all those who are in Bangalore, please join the event. Today, our speaker, Mr. Jagannathan, is speaking about the new challenges in ransomware attacks, which can be costly and disruptive. Mr. Jagannathan is Managing Director of Future Calls Technology, providing consulting services in IT and telecom infrastructure. He has more than 3 decades of experience in designing, implementing, and managing enterprise networking, telecom, and contact center infrastructure for companies. He is a leadership coach and author. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for the introduction, Manju, and thanks FDPPA for giving the forum to talk today. So before we start the discussion, so a few opening remarks just for context setting. I know that we have a mixed gathering here, but predominantly maybe from techno-legal field. So, but this topic is predominantly technical subject, unfortunately or unfortunately, and also I'm a hardcore technologist, whatever you call. So I'll try to make it as light in technology as possible. But of course, certain things being a core technical subject, certain things I can't avoid it being little technical. So you can stop me anytime. There is no fixed. I have a presentation, some slides prepared, but doesn't have to be fixed agenda. So it's more a discussion based on my few experiences. Especially, I had the opportunity to work with a couple of 3 ransomware incidents in the past 6 months or so. So based on that, I've evolved certain ideas, certain trends, and certain models. So that is what I just thought of sharing with you group here. So you can stop me anytime. You can show you don't have to wait for the question time or anything. There's more opinion sharing based on certain case studies and also present some case studies, more opinion sharing. Okay. So, and it's not going to be anything lesson on ransomware. I hope all of you know that. So we will skip all those things, any introduction about ransomware or any trends, statistics. So that's not the idea here. So we'll just take few case studies. I have chosen 4 case studies, 2 publicly known, well-known case studies, and of course 2 maybe not known at all, because I don't think it is reported, but I had the opportunity, so I have to work in these 2 cases. So I had little more in-depth information about knowledge about these cases. So about 4 case studies, and then we can take the discussion forward from there. Okay, so that's what is the idea. So I'll share the screen and then maybe start, and unless you have anything more to share at this stage.
Yeah, hello, sir. I'm Sridhar here from Vodafone. Would be great that if you can also cover the available ransomware technologies and how can we avoid these issues.
Yeah, definitely. I'm covering a kind of how the ransomware, whatever I have seen, has current trends, and then how to protect. Definitely, I'll be presenting a model, but nothing about any ransomware tool or anything. I'm trying to anyway keep away from the tools or any vendor or tool, anything on that perspective. Okay, so hope you are able to see the screen. Okay, so as I said, I've taken 4 case studies, 2 from maybe publicly known, well-known case studies on ransomware under different timelines, so that I can see, basically, I'm seeing a clear trend emerging. So that is why I have taken starting in the chronological order, starting from April 2022, which is one of the known case study, and all of them India, of course. Okay, I am not touching anything outside India. So this is Oil India. It's a publicly known, so I have no issues in sharing the information. All the information, of course, I got it from internet only, from known sources only. So I had no opportunity to know in depth or work on this case. So it's just whatever I could collect from the available information. So Oil India, that there was a ransomware attack in April 2022. The ransom was about 57 crore, and it was observed at the field headquarters. This is an Assam. So let me not pronounce that and get caught somewhere. So this is in Assam. The server, network, and other related services of the company were affected. They engaged the services of a specialist company for analysis and recovery. Specialist company, please note, not certain or other NIC and things like that. Attack started in one of the workstation of geological and reservoir department. That is what the report state. Okay, but had to shut down the network, server, applications, etc. Only the drilling and production work were unaffected. But until everything was restored, I believe the data was saved offline and then ported once things were recovered. Now, the report states that I don't know how confirmed information is this. So just with that disclaimer, that the report states that a Russian malware planted from a server in Nigeria. Yeah, any, there was someone wanting to tell something? Okay, it took more than 10 days for the recovery. So this is one case study, April 2022. Full analysis not available. I couldn't get, I searched multiple places, but I couldn't get the analysis report in terms of indicators of compromise. Okay, this is a very popular, I hope all of you would know, maybe many of you may know more than what is listed here. Popular case, November 2022, little later than the first one. Okay, said that about 1.3 terabyte of data was encrypted, and on 23rd November 2022, that was attacked, the most popular attack in India, because it happened on a healthcare data. NIC and CERTIN were involved in the investigation. They were there from the beginning. Okay, of about 100 servers, I think about 40 physical and 60 virtual servers, total about 100 servers. Only 5 were affected. Okay, this is what the report says. Ransom, there is no clear information, but there were some reports stating that it was about 200 crore, but not confirmed by AIMS. To the best of my knowledge, it is not confirmed until now. Okay, so this is one of the, this I think as told by Mr. Rajiv Pant, who was the cybersecurity coordinator. The manner in which the network was architected was not done by professionals after analysis, okay, but by a team of doctors. There were too many loopholes in the network, and that's why people were able to get into the network. The other one, this statement was made in the parliament, so it's a very 100% confirmed statement. Certain probe revealed that this was disclosed in the parliament question by Minister of State for IT. That certain probe revealed that the attack was caused due to improper network segmentation. We don't know what is that improper network segmentation. It has anything to do with segregating DMZ and LAN or what is that? But it is morely the network design primarily. Data has been retrieved from an unaffected backup server. So there was no loss of data, fortunately. And this is also reported by MOS Health, the Minister of State for Health in the Parliament. So, and there were reports that it was carried out by Chinese hackers, but I don't know any information beyond that, that it is reportedly hacked by Chinese hackers. Personal details of millions of patients, but there was no clear thing if any was breached or put it into the dark web, etc. And unless I couldn't get any such information, unless any of you here have such information. Okay, but the interesting point here is that this attack is the major overhaul by the government of India in terms of cybersecurity response framework. Okay, so Mr. Rajesh Pandey has said that NCRF framework itself was initiated based on the response to this incident. Okay, and I believe it is not, I couldn't see it anywhere, but I believe even this famous or infamous certain guidelines 2022 April was based on this. Okay, no, cannot be. Okay, this is later than that. It cannot be. Sorry. Okay, but other important, interesting point is that there was a recurrence or at least an attempt to recur. I don't know whether it was from the same group, but there was a malware attack. This is also very widely reported in the papers. Malware attack was detected on June 23, but by this time, maybe the cybersecurity systems deployed by AIMSS was more intelligent. It was able to identify and thwart the attack before any damage happened. Okay, so this is what is the information I know I could collect because two very famous reported incidents. Now, I will also take up two other incidents which is not reported, but
Sir,
yes,
sir,
sir.
Samir Mathur here, I would like to add in the second case,
Yes, sir.
as part of the report, it was confirmed that the malware was present in the network for more than 95 days before the attack took place. So they were doing UABA inside end user behavior was being studied, and they were
Okay.
looking at specific gaps where they could do maximum damage. This is in the case study.
It's a great information. In fact, that is one of my thread for the discussion today, for my presentation today. So you said 95 days it was there in the network.
Yes. So you would be aware that the Gartner study says that average attacker is there in the network for about 210 days. That's the international norm before the network realizes, or the analyst sitting at the SOC, in case there is a SOC there, before they actually realize the presence of a malicious code. The average time is about 210 days.
Okay.
That's the time when the end user behavior is the data is collected. But anyway, I just wanted to give you this additional information.
Yeah, that's a great information. So you will know after the 4 case studies, that is one of the point I'm trying to take up. Okay, so we will come to that. This information I wasn't aware, but that is one of the point I'm trying to highlight in the discussion today. Okay, so that's a good piece of information. Thank you. So this case study, I had the opportunity to work on this, but because I had the opportunity, of course, I don't have the liberty to, or I don't have the privilege to disclose the name, but I'll just give the details. Okay, so all servers, without naming any organization, all servers excluding email server, which was a Linux server, which is also on-prem server. But other than that, every other server has been affected, encrypted, and total about 81 desktops infected, and it is by a Blackbyte 2.0 ransomware. This happened in January 2023. If you see the chronology, now April and November 2022 and January 2023. And the interesting point is, of course, I should say that this organization in Chennai. The interesting point is that it happened just 2 days before the biggest festival in Tamil Nadu, Pongal. So it just happened on 12th January. So I don't know whether it is by design or incidental. Okay, none of the laptop got affected. Malware spread to HO as well as a branch office in Chennai, but 2 other branch offices in Bangalore and Delhi not affected at all. Okay, no impact. Right. Very interesting point is that the backup, which was there in the earlier case in AIMS, AAMS, I said that MOS Health reported in the parliament that every piece of data has been retrieved from backup available, which was not affected. But in this case, the backup was all being taken, but the backup was completely erased. No backup was available. Okay, could not restore any data from the backup. When we tried to find out, it couldn't know for sure, but it looks like that data tapes, the tape backup, the volumes which are there in the backup drive during the time the incident happened, they all been erased. Okay, data was could not be retrieved. Okay, all applications, that was the only piece of backup. There is only copy of backup, so everything is gone. All applications are running on-prem. They had no zero cloud and got affected. Data could not be recovered. Okay, both primary domain controller and additional domain controller. If you know what is a domain controller, but I'm not going to take any technical discussion on domain controller. Both were there in the same site, both are in the on-prem, and both got affected. So completely has to be rebuilt. The entire network has to be rebuilt. So it took about 30 days for complete recovery. Major business impact, of course. The domain, the Active Directory has to be recreated. You would know that if Active Directory had to be recreated completely, then every system has to be re-registered. Okay, including profiles have to be recreated. So not an easy task. Okay, and doing the analysis, it was identified that the first point of entry was a remote access device, VPN concentrator, using an admin ID. This was what identified, which was configured as a single factor authentication. Incidentally, it had two-factor authentication, and every other ID was two-factor authentication except the admin ID. For various reasons, this is one of the things which we keep always re-emphasizing in multiple client installations. Every other ID, remote access ID, VPN ID is a two-factor authentication, but the admin ID will not have a two-factor authentication. Okay, so other vulnerabilities exploited by the hacker to spread to all servers and all desktops, not all desktops, okay, big number of desktops, was something called lateral movement, which is this we see in many of the ransomware attacks of late, recent ransomware. So we'll take these points after listing these case studies. We'll take this point, it's called something called lateral movement. So all remote access was kept enabled in the system. So the hacker was able to, from one system, keep jumping into multiple systems. Okay, so that was what the identification. Okay, and another very interesting point is that it's certain sent a show cash notice. So the story is that this customer came to me after a couple of days, of course not immediately. After 2-3 days, after having a lot of such issues, noticed and was finding it difficult to manage it. They came to me on the Pongal day. So I started working on it from the next day. So by then they have reported in Chennai Cyber Police. When I said there is a requirement, I only told them they have no idea. So I only told them saying that there is a requirement to report to certain, and it's better you report it. Let's be compliant. Okay, compliant to the legal requirement. So they're also very compliance sensitive organization. So they immediately reported to certain. So certain kept quiet. Nothing came, no information. After a month, they sent an information saying that please send us all the details, a big list of things, send the list. And we said still in analysis going on. It is at this stage it is not concluded. So we will report the details after it is concluded. So within a week, they sent a show cause notice saying that it has to be reported within 6 hours, and he reported after 2.5 days. Why can't we give a show cause notice? Very interesting thing. Other than that, nothing else came from certain. Okay, only one mail saying that we need these details, and then on show cause notice. Okay. Other interesting thing is a manufacturing company, May 2023, which also I had the opportunity to work on this. So I know a little more information about this. It was a lockbit 2.0. Incidentally, that was a block byte 2.0 and this is lockbit 2.0. Okay, affected the Active Directory server and one file server and the tally server. Okay, only server got affected, and a NAS device which was used as a backup is also got affected. So no impact for desktops and laptops. But similar story here, a little bit different, of course. The backup in the NAS device also got erased. Okay, they also got affected. So they had to again run shelter, searching for backup, how to retrieve, etc. Finally, they had to be retrieved by using some low-level retrieval from some old disk, etc. So it's not available. Okay, it's a big problem. Logs are now available for forensic study in both earlier case and this case also. There's one thread, please note that logs are not available for a complete clear forensic study. There's only like whatever little bit of piece of information here and there available was taken. So that way, I definitely appreciate the certain thing that the logs have to be preserved. Okay, so AD server was the first point of entry in terms of analysis. After we did the analysis, found that the AD server was the point of entry. Please note whatever I think Mr. Samir said. We don't know how long, but exactly the same thing. Nothing happened. It wasn't something which happened on that day of attack. AD server was open to internet, and how much ever we could trace it back, the AD server was in contact with the hackers CNS command and control server. So the breach happened much earlier. We don't know how many days, but breach happened much earlier. We couldn't find out because the logs were not available for a longer period, but it was continuing to happen from the time the logs could be seen. And it's just that the attack happened on one day, but the breach happened much earlier. Okay. So based on these 4 case studies, could see certain things as a trend. Okay, most of the ransomware attacks, if you see, use advanced encryption straight away. In fact, we reached out to many specialists also, and everybody says that it is almost next to impossible nowadays to expect that anything can be done to decrypt. Earlier, it was possible in some cases where the decryption keys are available in the public. But nowadays, it is almost impossible. You can say that anything can be done to decrypt or recover the files, recover the impacted files. Okay, like what Samiran said, it is not one day act. Okay, hacker mostly they in the network in both the 2 cases, and he said very clearly in the Ames case also, hacker is in the network for a very long time. It is not a one-day incidence. Okay, it's not a one-day act. Okay, and the third point is, as I said, the impact more and more. If you see the newer cases, the impact keeps expanding. Earlier limited to one site, now it is even going to multiple sites. Earlier limited to only few servers, now it is going into the desktop, laptops. So lateral movement, what we call technique, lateral movement is more prominently being used nowadays to impact multiple systems. First point of entry is always one vulnerable system, wherever they could find the vulnerability. But once the hacker got into the network, as we said in multiple times, that hacker is in the network for a very longer time. Once they find a vulnerable system and get into the network, then they slowly do the reconnaissance, and they slowly use the lateral movement and get into multiple system. And they wait, and then one particular day, and the day could probably be, I think, chosen. They decide that this is the day in which it should be attacked. Okay, and it is done. That is the reason probably the second attempt in Ames could be detected if, as it said, because the hacker was there for a longer time, and then the activity could be detected, and that's why it was avoided. Okay. In many of the recent cases I have seen, it affects the backup as well. Earlier, it used to be only impact in terms of encrypting the active data, but now if the backup could be reached out, the hackers are very intelligent. They look at where the backup is there, try to find, and then if possible, reach the backup also, if the backup is vulnerable. Okay. And some of the, not in these 4 case studies, some of the other recent things I have seen now, it is a triple trike strategy. Earlier, it used to be only encryption and asking for a ransom. But there are some incidences where data exfiltration also happened, meaning if there is a personal data, sensitive data exfiltration, and possibly posting it in the dark web or leaking it. Now it is a double extraction, encrypt and also ransom, which is a new trend which I'm seeing. Earlier, generally the demand is only for restoring back the encrypted files, but now the demand is more in terms of double extraction, encrypt, as well as if you want to avoid me posting the data exfiltration. Double extraction is being adopted in a couple of cases of late. Okay. Repeat attacks noticed, Ames, and also another hotel, which I have not used the case study because neither it was reported nor I walked in. I had few discussions with the client, but I had not walked in this case. That's why. But here in this case also, it was the same system was attacked 3 times. 3 times it was attacked. Okay. Unless all the vulnerabilities are identified and addressed, there is every chance that the hacker is going to come back again for the same system. Okay. 3 times it was attacked. So any point on this stage in terms of these 4 cases or 4.5 cases and points trends from that.
Jagan, Murugan this side. See, if you see all these 4 case studies, cloud was not involved. They were all mostly on the on-premises. They are managing everything internally. There is no ransomware attack towards the cloud if they are migrated. That's what my observation.
Not necessarily. There were some cases not listed in any of these 4 that some cloud was also affected. But point is partially the thing, not that cloud strategy, then there won't be any impact of ransomware. But since it was in most of these cases, it's a network segmentation and network vulnerabilities. If the cloud is designed properly and then managed, the ransomware threat to the cloud would be limited.
Yeah, at least the data will be safe. Say the backup of the cloud and all those things will be protected. Okay, as you rightly said, the lateral thing, desktop, laptop data might have got disturbed and everything. At least the core server and their backup of the cloud backup, I think they will take the more precautions. They can be saved, is my observation.
Yeah, but saying lateral movement was allowed from on-prem to the cloud, it was open. Those guys can get into the cloud also. That's what I mean. It's not that cloud is not breachable.
Yeah, thank you.
Comparatively safer. Yeah. As I said in the 3rd case study, it went from HO to the branch also because the lateral movement was possible between the HO and branch through an MPLS circuit in which the ports were open. So it's all at the end of the day whether it is possible or not. Through the MPLS circuit, the ports were open, so they could go from one location to another location. If a hacker can affect from one location to the another location, there is no can't say that it is impossible to affect the cloud. If it is not architected properly.
Mr. Jagan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just extension to Mr. Murugan's question.
Yeah.
Just as a data point, what kind of percentage of cloud is also affected? We don't have to go through case study, but at least from your experience.
Okay. Sorry, for what percentage of data cloud is affected, you're saying?
Absolutely. You have taken 4. As Murugan correctly pointed out, at least this clearly tells us it's an on-premise, right?
All
now,
4 are on-prem. 100% on-prem, no
correct.
cloud, unfortunately.
Correct. So from your experience,
yeah,
what is that most affected one CSP, cloud service providers, whether it is Azure or Google, I don't know, number one. Number two,
Okay.
what is that trend when compared to the on-premise to this? So that will give me different measure in my mind, yeah?
Understood. I don't have a statistic, but only as he said, all four are on-prem, 100% on-prem. That is what
Correct.
I told these two guys also. You are 100% on-prem, better to look at some sort of cloud strategy. But having said that, I don't know whether I can, but I know for sure 100%. One of the big data center also got ransomware. I don't think they've not reported it, so I'm not sure whether it's what do you call decency enough to discuss here. Major data center, they got affected. One of their data centers. This happened just 2 months back. 2 or 3 months back. 2 months back only. Okay, so one of the data center got affected. So all their cloud customers using that data center, they got affected. That's how I came to know. One of my clients were using their data center services, okay, from Hyderabad. Okay, so they came saying that their services were affected.
Okay.
And they were using cloud services. Just I meant, that is what I said that I don't have the statistics, but we cannot say that the cloud cannot be affected at all.
I understand. Now, one more question.
Yeah.
Looking at the first bullet, yeah? Like what we are trying to say here is that attackers also use advanced encryption, and hence we may not be able to decrypt. It's not possible. That's what I understand, correct?
Exactly.
Right.
Earlier,
Now,
that is why you say Black Byte 1.0, even now, decryption keys are available in the network. You can download decryption. There are some sites or some technologies, tools where they can give a decryption for 1.0.
Sure. Great, sir. My question is that assume that I'm trying to relate to that fourth bullet. Assume that I have a backup which is not affected. Assume. Then I'm safe, right?
100% safe. 100% safe. That is what we said. Nothing else will affect until we come to this data exfiltration. That is where I'm saying earlier in couple of cases where I have worked also clients, we used to always say, have a very good backup discipline. You don't have to worry about ransomware at all. In couple of hours, you can bring up, you can just download and bring up. But now this data exfiltration and double extortion is complicating.
Sure. So I'm trying to correlate this to your first case study or second one, AIMS, what you talked about. I think second one, AIMS, absolutely. Wherein we said that only 5 physical systems got affected and others were not affected. And by God's grace, if one of the system is my backup system I'm using, I'm safe there. I don't have to worry probably.
Exactly.
There you are. Okay,
and
thank you.
No data exfiltration. There is no data leak.
Right. I understand.
Ramesh, one point you have to note. Okay, the moment you restore back the data, the weakness server, if you have not addressed, again they will come back actually.
Absolutely. So that the first trends to note, obviously one, we need to isolate those systems, number one. Number two, we have to have that strong technical measures in place in terms of, right, going through formatting to whatnot, etc. Then only when I am feeling safe with all that. I had gone through one of this kind of experience. So that's why I am with you.
Correct.
Because only backup is there, we have restored it back. We should not keep quiet.
No way. I was trying to look at the point of view of the first bullet saying that it is impossible because they are also very intelligent. Fair enough. But if I'm little bit safe in terms of having a strong backup where it is not infected, then one point, at least I'm safe from the data perspective. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I'm also reinstating a backup strategy in one of the slides. Let me see if we have, but important points are already covered. As I said, I don't have any clear timing plan. Manju, how long do we have? How much more time we have?
You can continue, sir. We have time till.
Sure. The major points are covered. Is again more. So that's why again in continuation of whatever Mr. Meeran said, no, is I would even say not even 3. It is in 4 stages. The first is the reconnaissance. Maybe we can combine reconnaissance and entry. So this is a process of doing a reconnaissance and getting into the network entry, and attack is a distinctly different phase. That is what is the trend nowadays is. He mentioned some 200 days. I don't know about the number of days, but it's a distinct trend definitely. Entry, attack, and then the impact, which is what is the impact and the recovery, etc. Now, if you really see, this is kind of a model I tried to put it. It's my own model. But of course, taking hints from CERT, New Zealand, there's some article I have seen, taking a lot of hints, let me be honest about it, taking a lot of hints from that, try to look at this model based on whatever I have collected in the few case studies. So the entry is basically on methods of entry, predominantly come and some email-based attacks. Many of the attacks are email-based attacks. Simple phishing attacks is what leads into a big ransomware impact. Okay, or in the like in one of the case studies I have mentioned, it was reported that it is a password compromise. So password compromise could also be one of the entry. Password guessing, weak password, single factor authentication. So people able to do a password compromise. Okay. Network vulnerabilities like what AIMS reported is reported in the parliament also. Network segregation is a one big challenge we see. Many in the case of case study 3, the Chennai company, also I have seen that the network was not segregated, segmented properly, even between the publicly accessible, what you call DMZ, and then the safe, very trusted network, what we call the internal network, trusted network, is not segmented properly. So that in AIMS, it was reported, openly acknowledged that it wasn't designed properly. So that is one point of entry for the hacker. It's all like juice sitting for the hacker to easily find out. They can do a reconnaissance attempt and then find out easily. And of course, access by the staff to any malicious web content. These are all the 4 most common. Don't tell me that you might have seen something more than this also. I listed whatever I have come across, the 4 most common, maybe even in that same order of priority also. Okay, so 4 most common entry methods. Okay, the causes why this root cause, whatever you call it, why this has happened, then so that you can put in protection measure. Somebody asked, would I be covering the protection method? Depending on the time available, we can go more on the this single slide itself. Okay, these are the protection methods. Maybe I will share it in the group, even if we couldn't look at all that in detail. Okay, so phishing, of course, email security, advanced threat protection. If it is a O365, it is a common, they have a good ATP. If ATP is enabled with a good safe link, safe attachment, it has a good protection. But more than that, in terms of culture, phishing awareness for employees is what we keep emphasizing, and doing a periodic phishing simulation so that give a first-hand awareness for the employees not to get hooked by the phishing attempts. Weak password, simple MFA wherever possible, best correct password discipline, etc. But these are all the real causes which we have seen in some of these ransomware attacks. Okay, network, of course, you have to have a proper network design, segregation, open ports, access, etc. And firewall hardening policy, proper firewall hardening policy, and assessment to see wherever there is any vulnerability is independently assessed and fixed. Malicious web, proper web filtering, intrusion prevention, etc. So that intrusion prevention can be detected. And so attack, method of attack, once they got an entry into the network and stay there for whatever 200 days or whatever that time. So decide to do the attack. By then they collect all necessary information within the network, and it is predominantly lateral movement. So lateral movement is a single most damaging cause for the extensive damage. Okay, lateral movement means in the network, in the same broadcast domain, from one affected system, if you are able to reach to the other systems in the network using certain remote access techniques like your RDC to be more, there are certain remote access where you can get complete access to every system. They can go one by one, because you can take, the Active Directory will be breached. In most of the cases, you can take the list of systems from, very easy to get it from Active Directory once it is breached, compromised, and then you can go into every system and then do whatever you want in that. That is the most expensive damage to have a little. So in all our this thing, we keep telling, please take care of your lateral movement possibilities. At least the impact will be restricted. Okay, if you are not able to block your entry, at least attack, you can minimize the lessen the attack. Okay, privilege escalation, uncontrolled privilege escalation is one reason where you are able to take a higher privilege. Okay, impact. There are three impacts. This is what the trend says. Earlier, I had never heard about even data exfiltration also. I used to say that ransomware, they just try to encrypt the file. You decide whether you want to pay the ransom or not. That's all. As you said, if you have a good backup, nothing to worry. You just restart, reformat, and restore the backup. Everything is done in a couple of hours. But it is nowadays, it is not the case. Data exfiltration means the sensitive data not only being encrypted at the time of encryption, they take the data also. Okay, if your network is vulnerable, so network allows the data to be collected. They collect the data at the time of encrypting the data. So they encrypt the data and unencrypted data, they collect it also, so that they can post the data, use the data, whatever for the ransom. Now, the ransom demands also very clearly state that not only we have encrypted, if you do not pay the ransom, your data will be leaked. Okay, that is for the double extortion. Okay, so this I can share it in the group if you. Okay, so very little on the lighter side because we have a heavy technical session. Okay, root of suffering is attachment, email attachment. Because many of the cases, as I said, is a simple phishing email attachment, simple, very less harmful looking email attachment is what is the root of all the suffering. Okay. So in terms of protection, as I said, already given in that model, move to ADR, endpoint detection response, so that instead of having to depend only on a pattern-based detection, it is more an anomaly-based detection, EDR. In many of the cases, EDR was able to, I don't know for sure, but in the AIMS case also, case study, the second time in June 2023, it was detected, probably because they had a better EDR systems in place, so that the anomalies could be detected. As I said, the hacker is there in the system for a much longer period. So if EDR is able to find, if they are able to alert, it is possible to detect and thwart the attempt before the attack. Okay, better patch management discipline. In many of the cases we have seen, unsecure patches or the secure patches not being attended and fixed in time is one definite vulnerability. Identify and remediate vulnerabilities, very especially firewall hardening vulnerabilities, because the network segmentation has been clearly identified as one of the cause in multiple cases. Reconnaissance attempts, if you are able to, because the entry, as I said, before the entry, reconnaissance attempts they do to identify which are all open ports, which are all open system, what kind of systems are there open, etc. That is called reconnaissance attempts. If you're able to block reconnaissance attempts, there itself you can put a full stop. Okay, periodic phishing simulation, phishing awareness, zone segregation, proper zone segregation network, password, multi-factor authentication wherever possible, better password discipline, web filtering, data loss prevention. Again, we had an interesting discussion, data loss prevention, not necessary tools, proper configurations and discipline in terms of avoiding data loss prevention so that data exfiltration opportunities can be minimized. Yes, sir. Okay, shall I move forward? Most important, this is what someone was pointing out, better backup discipline. Nowadays, it's even said that 3-2-1 backup strategy and a periodic recovery test, not like the case where I worked. I said backups are being taken, tapes are being installed, tapes are put. But when you had this impact, search for the tape, none of the tape has any data. Okay, so have a proper backup discipline, backup strategy, and also periodic recovery test. And another most important, proper incident response plan. This is what I have seen in both the cases where I have worked, case studies. I have shown that there is no incident response plan in place. So when you have a ransomware, you would know, you would imagine the kind of heat, kind of ad hocism, kind of this thing you would be put in this case where there is a big impact. The IT team is completely demoralized, completely. So that's why we had to go and put up a proper plan. So having a proper response plan and then testing it periodically is a very important aspect. Okay.
If I can ask you a question, previous slide. When you
Yeah.
say 3-2-1 backup strategy, so you have on-premise in your mind, I'm sure, right?
This is what this slide, not the earlier slide. This is what is a 3-2-1 strategy. This is one of the.
No. In the previous slide, the last bullet, we are talking about 3-2-1 backup strategy, right?
Correct.
Backup discipline and 3-2-1 backups. I understand. So basically, we are suggesting that 3 sets of backup need to be, probably can be, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So
my question is, so you are keeping your on-premise in your mind when you are talking about this, or is it applicable to the cloud also? Because cloud, I don't have control, right?
No, not cloud. Also, you have to have control on your backup.
No, 3-2-1.
Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it is on-prem or cloud. This is a strategy. It is nothing specific to particular kind of backup or particular kind of backup media or something like that. So what 3-2-1 backup strategy says that 3 copies of your data. Generally, you take only 1 copy. Better to take 3 copies. Is it possible? What is the cost? That is a different matter. But this is what 3-2-1 backup strategy. It's a clearly laid down strategy like 3-2-1 backup strategy to have 100% dependence on the recoverability of a backup. 3 copies of your backup should be there, and it should be stored in 2 different media types, whatever it is. One could be on-prem, one could be cloud, or both could be on-prem, doesn't matter, or both could be cloud, doesn't matter. So for example, if it is a cloud, if you are in one availability zone, it's a strategy would be like you have 3 copies of your data. 1 copy is in the same availability zone and the second copy is in another availability zone. Could be. So it is basically like a 2 different media types and 1 offsite. It cannot be the same, like in the case, whatever I have described, cannot be in the same network, same site. You put whatever best of backup technology you put it. It may not be foolproof in some cases, some scenarios. So 1 offsite at least, so that 0 errors. That is what is the 3-2-1 backup strategy. It's not my thing. Unlike this.
No, sir. No. I think I got it. What it is 3-2-1, right? My question is that if it is on premise, obviously this strategy or this theory looks good to me. Now, that's where our first question, where Murugan's extension, where I asked you that, what is the ransomware had happened with respect to cloud? Now, in the cloud also, if you are going to say, let's say on-premise it had happened 60%, cloud is only 40%. Now, after moving to cloud, again, that 40% had got reduced to 20% because they named their brand. So I need to have that. That's why I said that if I have the data point, I will, because having 3, then I will also say 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Now, it also costs. It's not free.
Of course.
Right? Now, why should I pay for Azure? One redundancy in Asian region, and one in US region, and one in Australia region. It is their responsibility, right? And if I'm a premium partner, I will put my contract very strong. Anyway, I got the point. So my interpretation of this slide, probably others can react, is for on-premise in my opinion, because in the cloud, we do not even know where he is storing my data unless and until if it is GDPR kind of stuff where I say that it's an EU region or US region, right? And that itself is so much cost, every instance and every resource, right?
Yeah, only my response is
that
you are talking about cloud providers' commitment of data.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. But that alone is not sufficient. That is not a backup. For example, if you are using a cloud, you cannot say that my cloud provider will take care, so I don't need to take any backup. That is not correct. Because your backup is for your own.
No, sir. That's part of my contract. No. That is part of my contract. I'm signing with Azure to say that I need backup 100%. And now today, because of so many regulations, and that's why I do have a moral right obligation with my cloud service provider to tell me the restoration plan and restoration success rate also.
No,
so cloud is,
that whatever the cloud service provider is only protection against whatever happens to their systems, their infrastructure systems. But something can happen to your data itself, right? If your data goes corrupt, the cloud provider can only give you a corrupt data, right? It is, you have to protect your data also. That is only for your protecting your cloud provider's commitment, which is only in terms of the infrastructure and the thing. But if your data itself is getting corrupted, they cannot do anything, right? For that, you have to have a proper backup mechanism. If your data is encrypted by a ransomware, cloud providers cannot give you the old data.
How the data will get encrypted when my data is sitting on the cloud and it is under his responsibility? He provides all the security controls.
No, I said in a data center, it has happened.
No. So that's what I wanted to know. If at this point, if you are not, I'm okay. We will go through it later. But what I'm trying to ask you is that,
No, in a data center, it has happened, and some of the cloud customers they had got impacted. It's not impossible, but of course it will be less. I don't have the stats.
Okay.
Ramesh, it is like it's my home. It's my home. I have to secure it myself.
Even if you're on the cloud, password management, password security, all of these things are with you only. No, if your password has got compromised and someone has got in, what will the cloud service provider do?
Subraydu sir, sorry to interrupt. Absolutely, you are right. Okay. Now authentication fails. I am getting in. Okay. I'm whatever. Now the data, whatever has happened, whatever backup is being taken by him, is his responsibility or no? There will be a kind of interval, right? He will be giving me a kind of assurance to me saying that at least 8 hours of your data is saved where that attack has happened. Before to that, it needs to be safe for me. Otherwise, what is the use of me going to a cloud and paying so much money to him?
Nobody
Ramesh,
default.
This side, sorry to interrupt. See, please remember, cloud service provider is not keep on seeing your data.
Correct.
Correct or encrypted or not encrypted and everything.
Correct.
Okay, if you ask him to give 8 hours back data, he will give it.
Correct.
There is no assurance that 8 hours backup also is got encrypted actually.
No, even 8 hours data, only if you subscribe for that service, they will give.
No, sir. Very valid point. My assumption is all. That's why I said I used a premium, let us say. I have given every contract to him, and then I have got that kind of assurance from him. There I am talking about 3-to-1. That's all. I'm with you. I got it.
See,
it's not free.
That is also your backup strategy. No, your backup strategy, there would be certain backup services provided by the cloud provider. So whether you take an instance backup, you take a instance copy, or you ask the cloud service provider to include a backup service, it is also a backup strategy. That is also part of your backup strategy.
But the best way is, I think, Jagannath, to do our work, save our products. We should take our own initiatives and try to have our own backups. That's the only way, I think, the best method. Rather than depending on the third party, better to defend ourselves.
If you have the copy of the data, say unless you test it, whether the data is in encrypted or in original form, it doesn't. That is what Jagan was instituting the test actually.
Yes.
And once in 8 hours, we cannot keep on testing our backup actually.
Correct.
Okay, at the back end, we should have some mechanism, okay, where the testing also happen in parallel, so that they will give you back the 8 hours data, 7 hours data according to the contract. But the content of the data is the user responsibility, not the cloud service provider responsibility.
Exactly. Suppose your it's a SQL database. Your database got corrupted. So you cannot. You will say that even if you are having a backup service, okay, whatever backup I have taken, that only can be given, right? So you have to have your backup strategy. So their commitment is only in terms of if something happens to their crashes their storage, then they would give you back the storage. That is what is the commitment.
Jagan, one more clarification of all the 4 case study. Do all the 4 went for ISO 27001?
I don't know about AIMS and AIMS.
No, AIMS has not gone. AIMS has not gone.
The other 2, whatever I worked on, no, they were not even ISO 27001.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
And
But
can
of
you
course,
show that model? Jagan, I have a question on this model actually. It's very interesting. If you show that in the slide, I think entry.
yeah.
Okay. See, between entry and attack, there is a time period actually, correct? Attack doesn't happen on the day 1. Okay, that is what it resides on the network and everything.
Of course.
Okay, 95 days, as you said in AIMS in some other cases.
Correct.
Similarly, there is a time gap, have you seen, between attack and impact?
No, impact is just the post-attack what we do only.
Okay.
That is what I mentioned as an impact.
Okay, okay.
It is not, maybe in the case of the hackers, the impact is more to watch what we are doing. And nowadays, I believe in some cases, they are posting it in the dark web. So only those things are the impact from the hacker's perspective.
Very interesting model. Thank you, Jagan.
Yeah. Okay, so hope we can. So this is the last one. I hope a few minutes will close this. So as I said, incident response plan, which is what is one of the observation. Wherever I worked in both the cases, case studies, there was no incident response plan. It is more like a chaos at the time when you have a naturally, right? Everybody is panic and what needs to be done. In one of the case, they even started formatting the systems. And then decided few systems have already been formatted. For example, about 5 systems have already been formatted. And then they realized that no, the higher up management said that no, don't do that. We need to do a proper analysis, identify and find out the lessons, remediation, etc. So, but the systems are formatted from these 5 systems, you cannot do anything. So have a proper cyber security incident response plan. Now it is a requirement by if you're part of NCIIP, the National Critical Infrastructure, doing a proper cyber incident response plan. They do playbooks, doing a proper incident response plan and doing a simulation. Reporting the simulation is mandatory for critical infrastructure, whichever is been identified as a critical infrastructure. Okay, so these are all common phases. There is no hard and fast rule. Preparation, which is basically planning the incident response plan itself, and then identification. How do you identify? You are able to identify in advance whether you are able to thwart the attempt, etc. Containment, once the attack happens, how do you contain it so that it doesn't reach the other systems? Eradicate, fix it. Recovery, how do you do the complete recovery? And then remediation, what we call remediation or lessons learned, do an analysis and find out why it happened so that recurrence can be avoided. And of course, the security can be strengthened. So these are all some of the points required to be taken care of in each phase. So if this plan has to be properly in place in much before anything could happen, and it is being understood by the entire team. The team is being formed, the incident response team, IR team, and they do a simulation, tabletop simulation, real-time simulation, whatever it is, understood, then that is a much better benefit in terms of avoiding the incidents. Okay, and the lessons learned has to go back in preparing the and updating and preparing the plan as such. Okay, so that's all about from me. Any question
So,
on
Jagan sir,
uh,
Jagan sir, one small question regarding the trend of devices that are being attacked.
yeah.
Have you seen about any voice devices, PBX, voice gateways, were
I
they
haven't
also affected?
honestly I haven't seen it, but I can't say that it will never happen, but I haven't seen it. Generally, they only try to attack the application database and now the backup also, as I said, they try to target the backups also now, but I haven't seen impacting the other areas.
Okay. Thank
So
you. One
in
more.
one of the cases where the voice was stored as a data, okay, they digitize it and store it, okay, and it was encrypted actually. Okay, for legal purpose, that company was storing all the voice conversation and everything. That server was hacked and encrypted. They were in trouble actually.
One question. The Mumbai power outage, I think sometime in 2022, there are some news reports saying that is also a Chinese sponsored cyber attack or something. Any word of that?
Yeah. I heard there was even something I heard, but these are all only from reports like what you, I don't have a first-hand information.
Jagan, I can add on that. Basically,
Serum
there are two types.
Also, there was some
there are
attack
two
during
things.
the COVID time. Serum Institute also, there was some attack from some Chinese, but these are all like you, I also heard that some. Yeah.
Jagan, Murugan this side. See, basically this attack happens in two domains. One is the IT domain, another one is OT domain, operational technology actually. Where in the power case and everything, it was not the server, domain controller and everything. It is their operational devices. Okay, they planted a malware and then it got created. So there is a two kind of attack. Your IT infrastructure attack, OT, operational technology attack actually.
Yeah. But that is where I know that NCIIP, National Critical Information Infrastructure Project, they give a lot of focus on OT. They say that OT has to be segregated, the zone segregation, they are very, very particular. Because many attacks are coming on the OT side now.
Yeah, that's what normally what happened. There are three layers they are dividing. One is the life critical applications and mission critical and business critical. What Jagan was telling is mostly about the business critical actually. There are mission critical, different kind of a plan, and then life critical also different kind of a plan actually.
Yes, sir. Any other question?
So one more question. Did you identify any kind of a trend like all these case studies? They were not doing any kind of VA scan or any hardening. They were missing any basic stuffs that was missing in these case studies.
Absolutely. I have seen whatever the thing, as I said, no, many blatant open vulnerabilities were there. In this case, it was reported after analyzing the logs that it was a MFA. But I said I still have doubts. The forensic analysis was done by a forensic player. I said I still have doubt. They reported because there were even easier open vulnerabilities were there, like your network segregation. Your network segregation wasn't clear. So I said without even doing any forensic, I can tell that these need to be fixed first.
Yeah, that's what. If they had gone for ISO 27001, some discipline would have been there. And if they had also attempted cyber insurance, okay, they also would have done a kind of an audit, and then they would have highlighted you where is your risk point and everything.
It's a good point. In fact, now after this increase in cases, the demand for cyber insurance is increasing. In fact, premiums are also getting increased. I don't know if anybody here first-hand good thing about the cyber insurance, but the premiums are increasing, which is what I heard from some of my clients. And the demand for cyber insurance, earlier it used to be restricted to only few big players and BFSI industry. Now it is even all other industries also looking at a cyber insurance plan.
Jagan, what happened for the hackers also, who are having the cyber insurance, for them that becomes the first attack point actually. Okay, so nowadays even cyber insurance, they doesn't want to just like that go, even though they are ready to pay huge premium, because they have become the known attack point actually, because they have the cyber insurance, they attack actually. That is why today the cyber insurance negotiator, okay, who negotiates their fee is the maximum package now.
Correct. And
But
in
even
fact,
to
they
claim cyber insurance,
tighten the requirements very much. The cyber insurance, before they can give you the cyber insurance, their assessment requirements, they have a lot of ransomware things they have added now.
but to claim cyber insurance, should you not first agree that you've been breached? In India, we have not seen some very, very rare instances where companies have come out and agreed that they have been breached. Mostly we see denial, right? Can you deny that there has been a breach and at the same time claim insurance?
Not report and claim insurance is what you are saying? Or,
Yeah.
No. Nowadays, I think cyber insurance, they have I have seen, I don't know, again, I'm not from the insurance the thing, but I have seen from some of my clients that they have a detailed checklist and what procedure to be followed in case of an incident and claim. They have a very detailed checklist. And notification would be an important aspect of that.
Yeah.
You have to follow those things. Then only your claim will be.
Yeah, so the moment you notify, then it becomes public knowledge and it will come to newspapers and all this thing, right? So out of every 10 breaches, we see hardly one where company admits that they've been breached, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That is true. Even this data center, I said, I haven't seen in any report till now, but I know for sure it is a ransomware attack happened.
Yeah.
And apparently it is not reported. Yes, sir. Any other question? So if no other question, I'll just take 1 minute to wrap up. Yeah, this is a little bit of take Navi's permission, little bit of marketing. This is nothing to do with cyber security or IT. Just my passion has become. So I started writing some books. So if any of you have any interest, you can always. The 3 books I have written so far. First one is more from classical literature, Indian classical literature, self-development principles based on classical literature. Second one is almost the same, but as a story format, as a corporate IT company, how the company faces problems, etc. The third one is completely cyber fiction, nothing to do with the literature or anything, completely cyber fiction. So both are my passion now. Okay, so that's it from me. And of course, I also is available in all online testing and my site also. Okay, and also do weekly posting. It's of course free, nothing about it. Monday Musings, a weekly newsletter. The concept is the same: classical literature, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and taking some self-development messages from that and trying to spread it in LinkedIn Monday Musings postings. This anybody can subscribe to that, and no advertisement also. It's just completely just with my interest.
Thank you, Mr. Jagannathan. Actually,
thank you.
Interesting to know about your passion for writing also. They appear to be very interesting books. We'll have some opportunity to go through it. Good. When were they actually published? What were the dates?
First one was about 5 years back. Management Immemorial. That was the first one I started getting into this. And then the Grandma book that was published during COVID. So it will be August 2020. And the third one is December 2022. It takes almost 2 years for one book. Yes, I'm not a full-time writer. From concept to completion takes 2.5 years.
Good. Yeah, Manju.
Thank you, sir. It was a very insightful session. You actually shared your experience after processing it into knowledge. That was very useful for everyone, and it was evident from the discussion which was triggered due to the session. And thank you very much for joining. It was interesting to see that your passion ranges from cybersecurity to scriptures and literature. And Looking forward to more interesting insights from you. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you everyone for joining the discussion.
Thanks FDPPI for giving the opportunity.
Thank you, Jagan. Thank you, Navi.